Well, hello, Global Sisters. We are in Colorado Springs, in Colorado, in the United States, with the Global Sisterhood Network, and Beth is our guest today. We are so excited to have her. Beth, introduce yourself to your new Global Sisters.
Hi, I'm Beth Roalstad, and I live here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I've been a resident of Colorado for, 20 so years, and it feels like the best place in the world to live.
Well, we are sharing stories of interesting women, and I know you in your current life leading Homeward Pikes Peak and helping people experiencing homelessness in this community. But I want to know for the sisters about your path. So how did a nice girl like you get into a career like this? Tell us a little bit about your path.
I think I was destined to become a social worker because of my family. My father was career Air Force officer, went to the United States Air Force Academy, and my mom was a nurse, a registered nurse. So I had two great role models who were in service to other people and who role modeled for me what that looks like, how to be a good citizen of the world, a citizen of the United States, but also how to be a great neighbor and how to be in loving relationships with those around you. And I knew I didn't want to enter the healthcare field, and I really didn't want to enter the military, but I found social work as a path that blended my interest to improve community and work directly with individuals. And so I became a social worker. I went to the University of Denver and graduated in the year 2000. So I've been officially doing this for almost 19 years.
Wow. So growing up, with this exposure from a military family, did you have the travel side of the military family?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was born in California, and as a little kid we moved to Okinawa, Japan, and then I was exposed to travel very early, so it's always been a value system of mine to travel the world. Lived in a variety of different states in the US, and then when my father retired, he went to work for IBM in New York State, and that was my anchor for a long time. But now I've lived in Colorado longer than I lived anywhere else. I've lived in Colorado Springs the longest duration of any time in my whole life. But travel has always stayed with me. I've been to 22 countries around the world, climbed some of the highest peaks, and seen some of the most remote islands, and it's just something I love to do.
Wow. Well, I know everyone's listening is like, wow, that's such a rich and full life. Was there anything along that path that really, something in your travels or something that you saw or experienced that stuck with you, that really, as you came back and got your education, became kind of a part of your style points as a social worker?
Yeah. Well, I can't remember who said this, but someone has said that we are more alike than we are disalike. And I think that is the thing that stuck with me the most as I've traveled around the world and I've worked in different cities across the US. I see people of varying class and socioeconomic background, and we are all fragile humans that if it weren't for stable families and a lot of hard work, we could all have hardship. And that is a universal truth around the world. And I have taken on the challenge of helping those individuals who've had more setbacks in life to try and find that inner grit and that perseverance and the tools within them to help them move forward and to give it back again in the future.
Well, I think people are probably curious, and you probably have a lot of great data about people experiencing homelessness. I know along my path I had a chance to go to Hawaii and work with my friend's church, where we served the homeless population a Thanksgiving meal. And the man I was blessed to get to talk to had a master's degree or a PhD and was an engineer in California, and talked to me about spider bites living on a bench in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I was really, my eyes were really opened. So could you just tell some of the listeners a little bit about people experiencing homelessness that they might not know?
Sure. Well, one of the things that I've learned the most is that individuals who experience homelessness have a very high rate of mental illness coupled with substance abuse. And often the substance abuse follows because they're self-medicating. So those who have very low incomes or who live in poverty have difficulty accessing care when a traumatic event or a health crisis happens in their life, whatever age that happens. So when they are trying to help themselves and get the care they need. Sometimes there's barriers. Sometimes that's the willpower to actually follow through with the appointment that they've made, or sometimes it's the system of Medicaid or public health care or public mental health care that's really hard to navigate. So if you're not getting the care you need, then you can get drawn deeper into that despair, and it begets more poverty and despair, and then all of a sudden you're trapped in homelessness. Often when we find people with poverty and mental illness and substance abuse, they have really erratic employment histories, so that creates financial vulnerability. And if you have financial vulnerabilities, you're not paying your rent on time or your mortgage on time, and so then it can create a poor credit background and maybe evictions, and then that makes you a higher risk to rent to. So you again have this structure that can trap you into homelessness. The story you shared about a gentleman with an advanced degree and probably a former career struggling with homelessness, we have that too in our community. We have that inside of our programs at Homeward Pikes Peak. I have a former NASA engineer. He was struck by a traumatic event late in life, entered into he left his mental illness go untreated and lost everything and became homeless. He was so incapacitated that he lost his security clearances and was unable to find work. And I think that his self-esteem became so low in that process that it would be hard for him to get back on track. He now lives stably in one of our programs. He participates in his mental health recovery, but it's forever changed him, and he probably will never be a high-performing engineer again, but he's working on getting back to being productive and getting back into work. So, substance abuse and mental illness, it can cut across all socioeconomic levels. When I was young, I worked for the National Mental Health Association of America, and this is an old statistic, but 1 in 5 individuals across the US experience depression and anxiety. So that means it's probably in our families, it's in our friend groups, it's in the people we shop with and go to church with and work with. If you're not able to manage that, it can become a life-altering sentence for people. And I think that's where we find extreme cases of those individuals end up homeless, and they need support so that they can get back on their feet.
Yes, it's so inspiring just to talk to you, and I so appreciate you dedicating your talent in your life to helping these people. We always ask people, when it was tough, what did you learn? And the purpose of this question is lots of people look at successful people like you, and you're running an agency, and you're admired in your community, and you're a leader, and they think, oh, that's so easy for Beth. Oh, it's just so easy. It was just this cakewalk. And we really find when we ask this question the truth, the daily struggle. So when in your life path was it tough, and what did you learn?
Sure. So I think I think of a personal example. So 5 years ago, I got a divorce, and I never thought that would be part of my story. I'd been married for 17 years, and it was a big surprise and a big a source of pain for me. And yet I was employed. I have an advanced degree, I have resources, I had insurance, and I had to tap into everything I could to get through that pain and go, get some therapy and work with a counselor and raise 2 daughters and keep my job, and all of a sudden realize that my economic self-sufficiency was even more on my own shoulders, that I had to plan for the future. And that was a big wake-up call. For years as a social worker, I've dedicated my life to help women in particular to find personal and economic self-sufficiency, and all of a sudden when it was in front of me as how am I going to manage my own life, it was a big wake-up call, and I had a huge new reservoir of empathy for the clients I had served in the past and the future clients that I know I will serve. I bounced back pretty quickly because I had resources and because I had a lot of support systems in friends and people to lean on and family. But I recognize that a lot of our clients don't have healthy relationships of friends and family to lean on at that level. So that again was another big wake-up call.
Yeah, and then it makes you even better in your current role to go through some of life's challenges.
Yeah,
And
I think so.
to speak from experience, not only theory and what you learned, but to speak from the heart of, I've been there.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't experienced homelessness, thank goodness, but I know what it's like to worry about mortgage payments and making sure that my budget, my personal budget, is going to sustain me. So I can empathize with our clients and, have to make sure I'm respecting boundaries and being a professional all the time. But when someone is expressing their pain and I am in the moment with them and feeling their pain, it touches me very deeply because, I've had a glimmer of what that can be. And it just reinstills my commitment to helping others. I was just recently asked what I would do if I won the lottery, and someone said, "Oh, I'd quit my job." And I said, "Not me. I love my job. I love helping people. I will forever want to be in service to others because it's so ingrained in my genetic code."
So that is so great and fun. And we also like to ask you, what are you excited about now?
Oh,
so what is lighting you up? I can see your energy toward helping.
I have a ton of professional goals and personal goals. So one of my professional goals is to expand the housing capacity of my organization and bring forth new housing to Colorado Springs. So our organization is working on the development of a new affordable housing apartment building, and we're going through all these steps to win a low-income housing tax credit to finance the construction. It would eventually bring 120 new homes to the community, which is very exciting and very needed. At the same time, I balance my life with a lot of exercise, and I'm undertaking my first half Ironman at the end of the summer. So I dedicate my hours between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. to training. And while that might make me tired and have me go to bed early, it's something to look forward to, and I know that I'm balancing this huge commitment to community and hard work with my 20 staff with taking care of myself at the front end every day and role modeling what health looks like for my 2 teenage daughters and for my staff and for my friends. I have a great life right now.
Oh, Beth, that is so inspiring and so important, I think, for all of us, because many of us give and give and give and give, and then we forget if something happens to our health, then we can't help anyone.
Yeah.
And so I think now in my later 50s, I'm really getting that, that's right on the top of the heap. The ability to keep my vessel alive and stretched and running is critical to my joy of helping others. So it's so good for you to say that. Well, that leads us right into our last question, which is, what is your global statement to women? And we think about this as someone's listening and you're just going to get to speak into their heart and soul, something you would like to tell women.
I really do believe that any goal is possible. And that sounds very, very optimistic, but I do believe that if you set actionable concrete steps towards your goal, then you can achieve anything. And the power of visualization of I can see myself crossing that finish line on September 15th, and I know I will because I can visualize it, and that's the goal for 2019. Who knows what the next goal is? I just believe in setting your goals and working towards it, and you will have success personally and professionally.
Well, the community of Colorado Springs is so blessed to have your passion and your purpose and your leadership helping people experiencing homelessness and having the vision for the future of serving them even bigger. So thank you so much for being part of the Global Sisterhood.
Thank you.